Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So for listeners who have only jumped on more recently, Ash has been on a couple of times, but the last time was literally for Return to Oz. And let's see, we did Labyrinth, and did we do anything else together on that one?
Oh my goodness. We've been talking about a few, but I think Labyrinth and Return to Oz were the only ones we've actually done so far.
Yeah, the problem is we've been friends for like 15 years and we
Oh
have
my
talked
God, it's
about a
terrifying.
lot of these kind of fantasy
Yeah.
movies all together. And so
Yeah.
it's like hard to remember which ones did we see in
Right.
person together and then talk about, and which ones did we just do a podcast
We
about.
definitely saw the Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland together.
Yeah.
That's burned in my brain.
That was a weird day where we walked out and we're like, that is not the movie I expected.
Right. But it was better that I had like a compatriot there with me. for
Right.
it. But if there's anything I know about, it's fairy tales and fantasy. So I'm excited to use my useless trivia that is permanently stored in my brain for this episode today.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's funny to think that you and I met working at Wicked,
At Wicked,
alongside
yep.
Maddie Limerick.
Mhm.
So we got to know each other talking about Oz.
Yeah.
And, and now, like 15 years later, we're still doing the same thing.
I know. Well, I've always loved Wizard of Oz. When I was growing up, it was my favorite movie. I actually read Wicked, the novel, when I was like 12 and was like, this needs to be a musical. And then Stephen Schwartz turned it into a musical. I was like, I was right. Side note, I have these vivid memories. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and when I was very little, there was some big anniversary of The Wizard of Oz, and I got taken to see it at like Grauman's Chinese. And in the lobby, they had one of the pairs of the ruby slippers that was about to be auctioned off at like Christie's or something. And I was like 3 or 4, like I did not really understand money. And I begged and begged and begged for somebody to buy me the ruby slippers with, like, it's like multi-millions of dollars. I'll never ask for anything again. So I have technically been in their presence, but Oz has been a big staple of my life for my entire life, really. So I'm very excited to talk about it.
I got to see them in the Smithsonian.
Because we're of that generation of, they did the 80s re-release. So, like, we specifically were primed for, like, VHS had become a thing. So there was home video for us. And, like, The Wizard of Oz, it was a big deal that it had, like, a release in the 80s that was kind of perfectly lined up for us as little kids to actually see it and absorb it. And for me, watching it as a little child, I had nightmares of the Wicked Witch of the West so much.
Yeah.
Infamously, my sister and I had bunk beds in our room, and I forced her to sleep on the top bunk because it was next to a window, because I had a nightmare that the Wicked Witch came in through the window to get us. And I was like,
no.
Krista, you're going to stay there. And
Yeah.
she thought, like, yeah, I like the top bunk. And I never told her until years later. I was like, yeah, it was because I was terrified of a witch coming in through the window.
And you
Oh,
were willing to
gosh.
sacrifice her.
Yeah, we have a strained relationship.
And that's our intro into talking about Hocus Pocus. Sacrificing your sister to the witch.
Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.